All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Welcome to Pettynomics. It is so good to have you all. I am your host, PTE, also known as Permission to Exist, a deeper PTE, political PTE, and Pettynomics, and a whole host of other names. So, but the name that I'm most well known by is PTE. So, welcome to the show, everybody. It's so good to have you. Today is Saturday, March 5th, 2022. And tonight we are going to talk about a phenomenon that is currently going on in China that I do believe will eventually make its way to the United States. And I think it's very interesting, very fascinating. I'm curious if any of you have actually heard of this phenomenon before. But the phenomenon that we are going to explore tonight is called lying flat. And we are going to get into what lying flat is, the different types of lying flat, how the Chinese government feels about lying flat. I'm going to add some of my comments and my commentary to the whole thing, and then leave you with some final thoughts regarding this whole phenomenon. Okay. So, welcome everyone in the chat. Great to see you. Hi, Blue. Hi, Brandon. Good to have you over. I hope you guys have had a good day so far. So, pretty minimal visuals for the show. I do have one thing to show you, two things to show you, but other than that, it'll be primarily just me speaking. So, lying flat. Let's talk about lying flat. First of all, the title of this live stream is Lying Flat, the Ultimate Response. And by the end of it, you will understand why it is the ultimate response and responding to whom. What is lying flat? In Chinese, lying flat is called tong pang. And the only reason I know how to pronounce that is because I heard someone who knows how to read Chinese say it, but otherwise I would not have known. So, but it is pronounced Tong Peng. And it is the principle or the idea that instead of striving for high pay, higher and higher pay, high social status, to instead choose to lie down and give the bare minimum. Also, this entire phenomenon really tickles me, and I'll tell you why it makes me laugh a little bit later on, but when I finally read up on what it was, I just started laughing. I probably laughed for about 15 minutes because it just tickled me, man. But you'll see. You'll see why I started laughing. So, what all does this lying flat entail? Well, these individuals have decided that they're not going to buy houses, that they're not going to buy cars, that they're not going to fall in love, get married, or have children. And if they do happen to end up married, some couples are still choosing to lie flat by not having kids and not buying houses and not trying to climb the career ladder. So this is all going on in China, okay? Now, some members of the lying flat movement do work at low paying jobs or they don't work at all, one or the other. So they purposely seek out and take low paying jobs, sometimes that only last like a day or two. That's exactly what they want. Just a job they can go to for a day or two, work, get a little bit of cash, and then go on about their lives. They all have adopted minimalism or a minimalist lifestyle, some of them so much to the point where they don't even have like an apartment or anything. So that means different things for them. For some of them, that means they they'll go couch surf, basically, whoever will let them sleep on their couch. Others do choose to live outdoors. You could call them homeless, but they're not theoretically or technically homeless. If they're homeless, you could call them homeless by choice, if they're homeless at all. But or they'll have some meager living accommodation. So these individuals would probably opt for like a hostel situation where they're sharing a room or a building with lots of other people, sharing one bathroom. They're opting for that, right? But no matter which living style they choose, they do choose to do it in a minimal way. So if they get an apartment, it's probably going to be a studio or a one bedroom apartment, and they are going to actively choose that. That's what they're choosing, okay? Along the lines of work, they would rather work as casual workers than permanent workers. So, to put it in an American context, they would rather be contractors than full time W 2 employees. And they're doing that on purpose. They're seeking that out on purpose. And then finally, the mantra of this particular movement is lying flat is justice. And that was started by the young man who actually started this whole entire thing with an internet post that he made. And I would have shared it with you guys, but the entire thing is in Chinese. And I just don't think my skill set is there yet. Okay. But he started the entire lying flat movement. So let's take a look at the different types of lying flat. There's four different types of lying flat and four categories that people fit into in the lying flat movement. Hey, Kanga Kong, it has been a long time. I've been here. Good to see you. Good to see you. So there's four types of lying flat in the lying flat movement. You're going to have completely flat in your upper left-hand corner. And these are going to be the people who don't work at all. So they're not even taking the odd jobs. They're not taking the contractor jobs. They don't work at all. And some of them do get government subsidies. Then you're going to have in your upper right-hand corner your semi-flat. So these people work conscientiously, but they are not interested in dating or marriage, okay? Then you have your slightly flat, which is in your lower left-hand corner. Slightly flat actually works hard to earn money, but they advocate for no marriage and no children. So slightly flat actually does work. So they'll keep jobs, full-time jobs and all that, but they do not believe in marriage or children. And then finally, you have flat in marriage. And these are couples who have chosen not to have kids or buy a house. And the way that they're viewed at is they are living in a two-person world without any children. So, those are going to be your four different types of lying flat: completely flat, semi flat, slightly flat, and flat in marriage. And this is going to be one of the things that makes me laugh because, first of all, there's categories that kind of tickles me. But just the fact that you can go from just completely flat, totally disengaged from this whole entire thing, to other varying levels of it. So the semi flat, they will work, but these are going to be like your contractors or like your day job, day laborer people. And it should be noted that all of the individuals have the capability to work regular jobs. They would actually be highly desired to work in regular jobs. They just don't want to. And let's take a look at the reason that they don't want to. So here's going to be our other visual for the stream.
Chinese online users vented, not lying flat, but working 996 just to sell myself and make money for the boss so I can die from overwork while the cemetery is valid for only 20 years. Without fair laws, equal education, and social health protection, a lifetime of hard work still comes to nothing. Why not take it easy now and enjoy lying flat?
Okay, so this quote came from one of the videos that I watched when I was researching this topic. This quote came from that video, and it says, "Not lying flat, but working 996 just to sell myself and make money for the boss so I can die from overwork while the cemetery is valid for only 20 years. Without fair laws, equal education, and social health protection, a lifetime of hard work still comes to nothing. Why not take it easy now and enjoy lying flat?" So, some of you may be wondering about some of the things in here. So, a 996 in China, 996 is considered the ideal working style and the ideal working situation. In China, if you are working 9 hours a day, hold on, dang, 996, six is day, six is the, no, I got it. Here we go. 9 means 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. That's what 996 means. From 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. And that is considered the standard in China, you guys. So if you're not doing that, you're considered not carrying your weight in China. And for them to get ahead and for them to have any kind of upward movement in their career ladders, this is where they have to be. This is what they have to be engaged in: 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. And truly, if you do just that, you're kind of looked at as like a slacker. So in reality, it's more like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6.5 days a week. That's really how they view work in China. It's really, really, compared to us, it's very, very, very intense. And it actually makes me think of a time where I was interviewing for a tutoring company whose name escapes me right now, but I'm sure some of you have heard of it before. But it's a Chinese tutoring company where they recruit English teachers or English speaking teachers from America specifically to tutor Chinese children on how to speak English, basically. And when I tell you that was one of the most intense job interviews I've ever had in my life, I ended up not taking it because I was like, oh no, these people are not going to worry me to death. Because like she was dealing with me almost like I was her child. Like it, and not even in like a disrespectful way. It's hard to explain, but she was just the recruiter. She was just the interviewer, not the recruiter. She was the interviewer. And it was intense. The interview was intense. So I'm like, wow, this is what it's like in the interview. I can't imagine what day to day work is like for this particular company. But I got a taste of the 996 when interviewing for that little tutoring company. So it's a very heavy work schedule, very intense work schedule. And the point or the way that the lying flat movement was born is because what they're basically saying is I'm working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., almost 7 days a week. And at the end of the day, I can't buy a house. I can't afford to have children. So many of the Chinese are going through the same issues that we're going through here in America today. They can't afford to buy houses either. They can barely afford their rent also, and they can barely afford to raise families and have children. So their response to that, not all of them, this is a movement in China, but it's not nationwide, but a mass movement has started called the Lying Flat Movement, where essentially they are saying, we're not going to participate in this. We're not going to be worked to death. We're not going to be worked into the ground only to turn up empty handed later. So, another part that stood out to me from this quote was so I can die from overwork while the cemetery is valid for only 20 years. So I did not research this prior to starting the show, but based on the context, it seems that you only have a grave site in China for 20 years. Let me see if I can just find out really quickly. Welcome, everyone. Let's see, how can I word this? 20-year lease, grave, China. Let's try that. See if that works. Oh my God, they are leases. So let's see here. It's still loading. It says, as millions of people across China visit relatives' graves for the Qingming Festival, cemeteries in Beijing are struggling to cope with a glut of untended tombs. The cemeteries say they are facing problems implementing an eco-burial policy aimed at addressing the glut, partly due to unclear regulations and partly because of difficulties reaching family members. And then I'm behind a paywall. Awesome. Awesome. Well, it appears. Oh, great. My washing machine is going nuts. Sorry if you can hear that. And then the dog's going to go nuts. I should have looked that up before I started the show. I'm so sorry. But it appears that essentially you can get evicted from your gravesite in China after 20 years. So how undignified that after all this, and then you die, you get buried, but you can only be buried there for 20 years, apparently. But let me look it up. I'll look it up and confirm that, okay? So, and then of course, why does my washing machine do this? Y'all probably can't even hear it. So I'm just going to keep going and just hope that y'all can't. So then he goes on to say, just to sell myself and make money for the boss. Exactly. So ultimately, all of this hard work is only enriching the boss, the corporations, the powers that be. You can't buy a house. I just found out from another video I posted yesterday titled Criminal Rent Hikes in New York City on this channel. Oh, good. Yes, I got a puppy. Wow. And they unsubscribed you from my other channels. That's crazy. That explains where everybody went. But on this channel, Pettynomics, I post a video called Criminal Rent Hikes in New York City. And someone was explaining to me that home ownership in New York City isn't even what it used to be, that many couples who rent or who are homeowners, they have a mortgage in New York City, have to rent out their basements to other families to pay the mortgage, you guys. And when I read that, I was truly horrified. So this person initially was telling me that people in New York, almost nobody lives alone because nobody can afford to live alone. So almost nobody lives alone in New York. So it's like a guaranteed roommate situation. Meaning also, you guys, that sometimes there are sets of couples that live together. So one married couple lives on one side of the apartment and another married couple lives on the other side of the apartment. And sometimes it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. So you'll have two couples sharing one bathroom in a two-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment in New York City. And that's normal. That's actually normal. But what really got me, what really, really, really got me was the people who are actually able to buy homes in New York City and be homeowners have to rent out basements and other rooms to whole families to help them pay the mortgage. And I just thought to myself, like, that is just, it's sad, it's nightmarish, but it's just no way to live. And then you have people like the Pope and Elon Musk coming out trying to get people to have more kids. And it's like, do you understand that my rent, well, if I was in New York City, my rent could possibly be close to $5,000? Do you get that? No, average is like 2,400 for like a one bedroom, and it only goes up from there. And honestly, you guys, there just aren't that many days. Excuse me, I looked at the chat, looked at the chat and was talking. There just aren't that many jobs paying that much. Sure, you got your high paying tech jobs. You have your healthcare industry probably pays pretty high for the doctors and things. CEOs sprinkled here and there, but at large, nobody's making that kind of money. And I've always said this, even if I was, I just don't see myself giving you 3,000 of my dollars every month. Every month? I wouldn't care if I was a millionaire, you guys. The principle of it would bother me. The principle would bother me. I got to give you 3,000 of my dollars every month just to live here. Like, no, that's crazy. That's madness. I just don't foresee myself doing that, you know? So, of course, obviously, if I was a millionaire, I'd be trying to buy a house, but I wouldn't even be trying to do a mortgage that was like 3 grand. That's a lot of money. I would try to buy my house outright if I was a millionaire. I would try to pay cash. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is, you have all these high profile figures coming out saying that we need to have more children. But just like this quote says, a lifetime of hard work could come to nothing ultimately. Or by the time you're able to secure something, you're kind of old. So I know a couple, a married couple. I think they've been married for about 13 years, two kids, happily married. Well, at least as far as I can tell. He is military. So he's career military. And she recently became an entrepreneur, very successful too, by the way. And they just now bought their first house. They, ju- they just bought their first house. And I don't think it's for a lack of trying. I don't think it's because they weren't trying to buy a house. I don't think there's many married couples that don't want to have like a home base. You know what I mean? For their family, especially with them having kids. But I just think that it just took this long. I think it took this long. And I think they're like mid 40s, something like that, mid to late 40s, just bought their first house, two incomes. Like, I'm so happy for her and her family. And at the same time, I'm just like, damn, man, if that's what it took for two incomes, stable incomes too, especially the military income, God, what hope is there for me on one income that is touch and go? Touch and go at best. Okay. So it made me a little sad. I was super happy for her because it told me that it's still happening for people, but it made me sad because I was like, damn, after all this time, they're just now getting their first house. I know another married couple. I think they've been married for 10 years. I don't know. He works, she doesn't, which, that happens, whatever. And they just mentioned in passing how difficult it's been for them to buy a house, how they've been renting a house and they're trying to buy and they are having a tough time buying. And they're a married couple, stable income, and they're having a tough time securing a home. So I so relate to this quote, not lying flat, but working 996 just to sell myself and make money for the boss so I can die from overwork while the cemetery is valid for only 20 years without fair laws, equal education, and social health protection, a lifetime of hard work still comes to nothing. Why not take it easy now and enjoy lying flat? So you see, there in China, they're advocating for a lot of the same things we are: fair laws, equal education, social health protection, all things that we need. But I think what we need more than anything, I think about this all the time, if you guys can't tell. I think what we need more than anything is kind of like a guaranteed entry into home ownership. So, what that would mean basically is this: for people who are not like coming fresh out of high school or fresh out of college, I would offer it up for fresh out of high school. And this is what I would say. I would say, when you graduate from high school, this would be a federal government thing. We're going to give you $10,000, but here's the catch. It's either going to be $10,000 towards school, $10,000 towards the purchase of a home, or what was the third thing? Dang, I had another one for it. School, home purchase. I think the other one I thought of was start your own business, but I don't think I'd do that for high schoolers. I had a third one and I can't remember it, but those are the two main ones. You can either take this $10,000 and put it towards your education, or you can take this $10,000 and we will basically walk you into the purchase of your first house, basically. It's guaranteed, it's yours. And after that, you can do essentially whatever you want to with it. Your rate will be very low, your mortgage will be very low. This program is only available one time in your entire life. So I'm getting myself confused. Let me work out the details of my program, because now I'm crisscrossing it with something different. I'm always trying to think of some little solution and I'm getting it all crisscrossed. I'm crisscrossing it up with something different. But the point is, a person's first home, at least here in the United States of America, should be one of the easiest things to get. And then you tell that person, look, you can sell it, you can keep it for the rest of your life. Because what you're basically doing is guaranteeing that that citizen has somewhere to live. You're guaranteeing it. So some people may not choose to take that route. They might choose to take that money and apply it towards school, but something that kind of kickstarts a person into life. Thank you. So I love that idea. I'm crisscrossing it with another one because I actually think the idea I'm crisscrossing it up with is I think my other idea was to quite simply just give them a house. Like, it's a starter house. It's going to be well constructed. It's going to meet all building codes, but it's going to be very, 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 very basic. So maybe a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, or a 3-bedroom, 2 bathroom, priced very low. Theoretically, only young people should be living there, because theoretically it would be rolled out to people graduating from high school. It's almost like a congratulations for finishing school from the government, basically. And I think that's what it was. I think that's what I was trying to put together. If they didn't want the house, then they could just take the money and apply it towards school, basically. So, but the idea would be, here's a guaranteed home for this person to live in. It's our gift to them for finishing high school. They can take the house, live there the rest of their life if they want to. And that's that. Okay, we gave somebody a house. Boom, they have somewhere to live, never homeless, never. Or you price it so low that even someone fresh out of high school could afford it. So these people's mortgage would only be like $300 or $400, something that you could easily afford, like at McDonald's. You know what I mean? If you took a job at McDonald's or whatever. With the idea being that if we don't just give it to them, they'll pay it off in like 10 years. So you graduate at 18, you've paid off your first house by age 28. Now you can live here the rest of your life if you want to. You can sell it if you want to, or whatever. You can give it to someone else if you want to. It's your house. But something to kind of launch people into life. Because the truth of the matter is, they come out and they're paying the same prices that like 40-year-olds are paying. And I'm not saying that 40-year-olds need to be charged more, but what I'm saying is, if myself and an 18-year-old or 21 in some states go to rent an apartment, we're going to pay the same dollar amount. Now tell me how that makes sense when I've had much more time to work, save money, accumulate furniture, dishes. You know what I mean? So, how is it fair that the 18 or 21-year-old is paying the exact same price that I'm paying and I've had an opportunity to work full time? So, you said it was a car idea. Was it a car? I was gonna give them or a car? Maybe that was it. Maybe it was either 10,000 towards school, 10,000 towards a house, or 10,000 towards a car. Maybe that's what it was. Coming from, yes, fresh from the federal government, yes, because I do think they have a purpose. I just think that they're off their purpose right now. They don't know what their purpose actually is. Your purpose is to make sure your citizens don't starve to death and they're not homeless. What kind of kingdom are you running? Imagine if we still had kings and queens. Like I know we do over in the UK, in England. But I mean, imagine if we still had kings and queens worldwide, right? And you go visit someone else's kingdom and it's a mess. The citizens are strung out on drugs. They live out homeless on the street. Some of them are crazy. They've lost their mind. People are struggling. They can barely pay for food. I'm going to look at the king or queen and be like, you run a really, really sorry kingdom. Your kingdom sucks. You don't take care of your people. That's literally the whole point of you even existing in that position for your people to thrive because it's almost like a bragging right. Think about people who have children who actually value them and care about them. They like to take care of their kids. They like for their kids to be clean and well dressed and put together and presentable. So when they send them out into the world, people look at them and go, wow, their parents must really care about them. It's the same thing. So you let your citizenry get run down and you're proud of yourself. Like there's citizens in your kingdom that don't even have clean drinking water and you're proud of yourself. Your kingdom is trash. So to me, setting up young people in that way, can you imagine being like an 18-year-old, excuse me, getting your first house? It's not your parents' house, it's yours. It's simple, very, very basic. The square footage doesn't have to be crazy, but it's yours. You know what I mean? So now, can you imagine what that would do for young men in particular? Like, I feel like if young men felt stable in that way, and if young men like graduate from high school and like step foot into their own house that they have to take care of, they have to keep it up, they have to pay for it, but it's reasonably priced for their age and their place in life. Can you imagine what that would do to a mind of a young man? We would probably see more families forming because this young man would say, okay, well, at least I got my own place, you know, and she can live with me if she wants to. We can sell her house. Girl, don't sell your house, ladies. But if you want to, she can sell her house or y'all can keep it for other purposes. She can come live with me. And if we happen to have a baby together, well, at least we have a house. At least we have somewhere to live. If we happen to have a baby together, it might be a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, but it's ours and we live here. Can you imagine what that would do for families, for couples, for relationships, for young people, for men? Like, I feel like it would keep so many young men off the street. It would make a lot of young men want to finish school. Like, that's the stipulation. You have to finish school to get it. So they would be like, man, I'm finna graduate so I can get my house, bro. You know what I mean? Or some people might choose to take that money and go to school, but I have a feeling a lot of people would take the house. I would. I would have taken that house at age 18 and then gone back to school around like age 24, 25. You know what's funny? The chat says, PTE, if you run for any office, I'll campaign for you no matter where you live. That is so sweet. And it's funny because I won't say which party, but there's a party where I live that's so desperate for candidates. They sent out mass text messages to everybody asking for people to run for local office. So I replied and told them, sure. And they're like, well, what are you interested in? I said, housing and affordable housing and making sure housing is accessible to everyone. But then they started sending all these texts, all these different little things I needed to do. And I'm like, honey, my life isn't set up for all this yet. Not yet. Maybe next year. Because clearly you need candidates because you're calling on the regular citizens to come run for office, yeah, y'all are desperate for candidates. So I probably would have been a shoe-in, but I just don't have time. I don't have time for that right now. Maybe later. But anyway, so those are just some of my ideas on how we remedy this. But back to lying flat. China's lying flat. So why not take it easy now and enjoy lying flat? It's such a good question. It's a good question to ponder on, and I do have thoughts. Well, first, let's talk about how the Chinese government has received this whole lying flat movement. They've received it with open arms. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. They've actually openly and widely condemned it. They've come out with a bunch of different campaigns and propaganda pieces saying, one of them said basically, do anything but don't lie down. They're like, you are Chinese citizens and you can do anything you want to, but do not lie down. So they're very concerned about this. They're actually very, very worried that this movement is going to take root and that more and more young millennial Chinese citizens are going to adopt the persona of lying flat, which is essentially just doing the bare minimum needed to do to survive. They don't like that. In another documentary I was watching, they were showing how bosses in China or business owners have to go out to street corners holding signs, begging people to come work for them, begging people to come work in their factories, begging people to come take a job with them. Like, how people try to sell you things as you're walking down the street sometimes? Imagine that, but with bosses, with bosses and managers and leaders, like, hey, you want to work for me? I've got a great big factory. You can come work for me. I'll pay you like $2 a day. What you think? And they're like, nah, I think I'm going to go lie flat. I love it. The chat says they are trying to bottom out the system. I like it. I love it. I love it, y'all. I'm so all about it. Like, because it's such a peaceful protest. It's the most peaceful of protests. Like, nah, I don't think I'm going to do that. They're like, come on, you must get out. You must go meet people and date and fall in love and get married and have children and go work and buy a house and buy a car. And they're just like, nah, I don't think so. Don't think so. So the Chinese government is not happy about this. They actually actively remove any content related to this and this movement, although the Chinese who are lying down or lying flat are finding ways to work around their different, bans or whatever. And some of them even do go do what this girl is doing in the picture, and will just go lie down like on a busy sidewalk, not in the way where people have to step over them, but they just lay flat. They just lay there. Like they literally lay there. And first of all, I think that's hilarious. To just be walking down the street and someone is literally just laying down, just as peaceful and quiet. Like that is their silent, solemn protest. And I love it. So the Chinese government is not happy about it at all. So they're trying to squash it, but it's a little bit too late. And the idea is starting to spread westward, it's starting to spread over to the West. Hence why we're talking about it here tonight. I heard about it. Now I'm telling you about it. So let me give some commentary and then I'm going to give some final thoughts on this matter. So now we're going to kind of get into, let me see. Okay, the part that made me, well, here's what's making me laugh about this whole thing. I realized that I myself am kind of lying flat and I didn't realize it. And the revelation is what actually tickles me. Like I had the revelation that I myself am lying flat, but I didn't realize it, nor was it intentional. So we'll get to that in a second. But let me give some thoughts really quick. I really actually think it's kind of sad that this is what it's come to. Life itself has become so undoable and so unsustainable that people have just simply stopped trying, you guys. They've simply stopped trying. And on a different show, different channel, different topic, I forgot what we were talking about, but I said something like, what happens when a society reaches the peak of, I think we were talking about self-actualization or something like that. And someone in the chat says they implode. And it was like a very mind-blowing moment for me. So in other words, when you've reached peak, when you've reached the peak of your evolution, we tend to implode as people, basically. We don't keep getting better, we implode and go back to the Stone Age, I guess. But essentially, yeah, we are unintentionally lying flat. That's the best way to put it. Chat says, I never heard about it, but I'm also unintentionally lying flat. Yeah. And it makes me laugh so much. I don't know why. When I read it, I was like, oh, I'm lying flat. And they don't like that. That's frowned upon. But what has happened is they actually imploded society. They just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until the people said, you know what? I think I'm just going to lay here and sky gaze and look at the clouds. Isn't it funny? It's kind of funny, right? Like, pretend the girl in the picture can hear me. It's like, get up, get a job. No. Look at you. Don't you want to have kids and get married and be a respectable woman? No. Well, you need money. Don't you need money for all your fancy designer clothes? Nah. Well, you won't have anywhere nice to live. You won't be able to live anywhere nice. Okay. Okay. And then another thought I had was, oh, you want to make me a renter for life? Someone who wants to be a homeowner? Because there's a lot of people who don't want to be homeowners. And a lot of the people who don't want to be homeowners are previous homeowners, people who've owned homes before. So there's a lot of people who actually don't want to be homeowners. So you want to make me a renter for life, someone who actually wants to be a homeowner? Okay, then I just won't participate in your system at all then. Like I will literally not participate. I will completely divest from your system. So, God, this is so funny to me. If it weren't for my addiction to an actual domicile, I could see myself living a little vagabond life. No, I'm a little bit too attached to stability to be a vagabond, just slightly too attached to stability. But other than that, honey, I'm lying as flat as they come, honey. And now we're going to talk about that. So I feel many Americans are unintentionally lying flat, to borrow a term from the chat. And I realized I'm unintentionally lying flat. So let's go through all the reasons why. So this is regarding me. For me, buying a home is hopeless at this point, period. I do believe I can buy a home one day, but I believe I'll be about 65 years old when I'm able to buy a house finally. I really do. Like, just mathematically, the way my jobs work out, saving up the down payment, getting the credit to where it needs to be, for all of those things, and then finding a house that's actually in my price range. For me, buying a home is I just don't believe it's something that's ever going to happen for me. So I don't even try anymore. And one of the reasons I don't try is because, as some of you know, I tried to buy a house a couple years ago and got all the way to the closing, and then it fell apart. And y'all, I think I'm actually traumatized from that. Like, I think I have some sort of PTSD from that, because I worked so hard to make that happen. So hard. It was many months in the making. It was like 6 months in the making. And during the course of that 6 months, I was paying off things that I regret paying off now. I wish I had kept my money in my pocket, but I was paying off things, paying off this, paying off that, playing these weird little reindeer games of, okay, but we'll pay that card, but don't pay the whole thing. Pay 50% of that card, and then pay 75% of that card, and then pay that card off. So I did it. I paid 50% of that one, 75% of this other one, paid the other one off. Boom. got things wiggled around, moved around, boom, boom, boom. Then they're like, oh, you need a cosigner. So I actually had brought my parents into the whole thing, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to bring my parents into it. I wanted to buy my own house on my own for the first time. I didn't want any cosigners, but we were so close to the finish line. I was like, fine. So I had to explain everything to my parents. They were more than willing to help me. They both became cosigners on the loan for me, both of them, um, which I was really, really grateful for. And then for all of that to turn around and not work out, like y'all, I was devastated. Like it makes me want to cry right now. And I think the part that hurts me the most is the fact that I drug my parents into it. Because otherwise it would just be an L. I would just take the L and be like, whatever. I'd still be upset, pissed off, and mad, but I would be the only one who really knew about it. You know what I mean? But I drug my parents into it, man, and had them signing all this paperwork, faxing things, printing off stuff, signing it, sending it back, talking to the people, verifying identities, verifying this, verifying that, pulling up financial records. Like I had them doing all this stuff for it to not work out. Like it was devastating to me. It devastated me, you guys. It really did. And it completely crushed the dream. I love the house that I'm renting right now, but I'm doing just that, renting it. It's not mine. And any day that if I just stop paying for it, if I stop paying my rent, they will come scoop me out of here just like that and throw all my stuff on the street just like that. They're going to have a long time. Woo, that's a lot of work. That would be a lot of put all this crap on the street, honey. Y'all gonna be here all day. And I would stand right on the grass and watch them move every single piece and say, don't put that down hard. Put that down soft. Be gentle with that. That's fragile. Don't put your fingerprints on that. Just a bitch. I would be so rude, mean, and nasty. But anyway, my point is, it's not mine. As much as I love it, as much as I absolutely have benefited from living in a house on my own for the first time, my life has really improved as a result of that. It's still not mine. And the day I stop paying for it, it's not the day they'll kick me out, but it's the day that starts the process of them kicking me out. And it just seems so wrong, It just seems, it's just like, I just don't understand how housing can be something that can be negotiated in terms of whether or not you live on the street. I just don't see how that's a negotiation. Oh, absolutely. While drinking a martini on a lawn chair with shades on. Absolutely. I'll be like, open that box. What's in there? No, close it back up. Put that in that box. That's too big. If you put that on top of that, it's going to crush it. You need to put the other one on top. Don't touch that. I'll get that. But man, we're going to call the police on you. No, let me bind that up and rebuke that. Let me stop playing. Lord, I bind that up and rebuke that. I rebuke that. But anyway, my point is, it's not my house. As much as I love it, as much as I care about it, I take very good care of it. I even take care of the yard. Yard's not even mine. I take care of the yard, take care of the trees. It's not my house. And I was thinking about it. And I was like, well, what if I just wanted to rent this house and just stay here the rest of my life? Well, for one, the rent would probably eventually go up to the point where I wouldn't be able to afford it anymore. That's one. But two, they could also sell this house to somebody else and the new owners can kick me out. They could. If they wanted to just empty out their portfolio, they could sell this house to someone else and the new owners could say, okay, as soon as your lease is over, you need to move out of our house. And they could totally do that to me. And it would be 100% legal. So I say all that to say that buying a home is no longer on my goal sheet. It's just not something I'm going to strive for. Something would have to change at the federal level, at the legal level, for me to be able to buy a home at this particular stage in my life. Okay. So I'm lying flat on buying a house. Then, as far as a car, I do have a car that I'm currently paying for, paying off. But after I pay it off, I probably won't buy another car for a long time. And I recently discovered that there are some companies that basically They're very similar to rental car companies, but they're not rental car companies. Think of like Uber for rental cars. So basically, and I for the life of me, I can't remember the name because I certainly would have told you guys, but I think Turo is one of them. But Turo is not the one that I saw. Turo. Let me see here. Turo is not the one that I saw. The one that I saw basically let you select a car, select the length of time that you need it for, and then you just pay for that and you're done. And that's pretty much it. The insurance comes with it and everything. So you can have the car for like a week. You could have it for 3 days. You could have it for one day. So basically, what I'm trying to say is it's getting to become a situation where you won't really need a car here pretty soon if you don't want one. Now, I've always enjoyed having my own car, I've always loved that. So that might be difficult for me to give up. But then again, I might find out that I actually kind of like it. Hey, use this car for a week, run to the grocery store, wherever else I need to go, give it back. Here, it's yours. Take it. And I spent what, $70 maybe versus the hundreds that I'm spending to maintain my own vehicle between the actual car payment itself and the insurance and the gas and the maintenance. I can just use yours for 3 days and give it back. And again, some of you might say, well, PTE, that's just a rental car, but I'm telling you, it's different. I'm telling you it's different. I just don't know how to describe it, but it is different. Okay? So there I'm slightly flat. Here, let's go to this. Let's go back to this graphic here. So I'm completely flat on buying a house. That's it. It's a done dream for me. I do believe I'll inherit a home, but the worst part about that is the day that I inherit a house is also the day that both of my parents are gone. So, like, there's no joy in that. There's no joy in inheriting a house, but the people who live there and used to occupy it are no longer there. Like, you want to talk about depression? Oh my God. So, if I can look forward to a future where I can live in a house without having to pay for it, technically, but that future also includes the lack of two people that I really care about. So that sucks. I could go live in my grandmother's house, but my parents refused to fix it up. So anybody could live there. So, not hanging my hat on that either. So there's that. Now, so I'm semi flat on the car. Wait, hold on, let me see. Semi flat. No, okay, yeah, I'm semi flat on the car. Then I've fallen in love before. I've been in relationships before. I've fallen in love before, but I'm no longer seeking to be in either one of those unless I can get my hands on my husband who writes that blog. But unless I can get my hands on him, probably not. Okay. Um, so I have fallen in love before, but I'm no longer actively seeking to fall in love. My overall dating experiences have not been positive, and I really don't feel like going through that cycle again. It's a whole cycle. It's a complete cycle, and I don't want to. I'm not interested. Like I'm just not interested in doing that merry-go-round again. So I'm not even looking. I'm on no dating apps. Like I don't try to advertise when I'm out in public. Um, like I'm like, just pretend I'm not here, okay? So as far as the relationships, falling in love, getting married and all that, I would say I'm completely flat. Then, so since I'm not interested in falling in love, naturally a marriage wouldn't happen, which is part of the whole lying flat thing. They don't, the ones who aren't married already don't really advocate for that. And then finally, and then obviously children, I'm not going to have those. I'm not going to have those on purpose anyway. So I'm lying completely flat on children. And then finally, as far as the lifestyle, I realized that I kind of lead a minimalist lifestyle. I just didn't realize it. So like I don't watch TV, you know. I will watch Netflix and stuff when one of my favorite series is on and there's new episodes. But other than that, like I really don't participate. I really don't participate. So again, lying flat, Tongpeng in Chinese They don't buy houses, cars, or fall in love. They don't get married or have children. If they do end up married, couples choose to lie flat by not having kids or buying houses. They work low paying jobs or don't work at all. Oh, I left out work. So I would almost be slightly flat for work. I'm between slightly flat and semi flat for work. And the reason is because it's not that I don't want to work a full time job. I could show you guys how many jobs I've applied to. Yeah, like over the past year, I apply to them all the time. I go on interviews all the time. It's just that either the application gets declined, or I go on the interview, they go with someone else potentially, or I reject them. There's something about them that I didn't like. Like one interview I went on recently, she told me that I would need to be able to be gone out of town for 3 consecutive weeks on any given month. I said, 3 weeks? She was like, yeah. She was like, the first time you'd be gone for 3 weeks for training, out to California, by the way. So 3 weeks out in California for training. And then when you come back and you start doing your regular job, which starts at 7 a.m., by the way, start time is 7 a.m., with 7 a.m. for regular job. When you come back and start doing your regular job, I think she said at most you need to be gone for you'd need to be able to be gone out of town for 2 weeks straight. And I didn't say honey, but in my mind I said, honey, I said, I can't do that. I was like, I have pets, and like, even if I didn't have pets, y'all, I don't see myself being gone from my house for 3 weeks straight, bro. 3 weeks straight, almost a month, way far out of state with everything that's going on. You want me to be away from my home base for 3 weeks, but then you add in the fact that I have pets. Like that's a whole nother ball game between boarding or someone coming to your house and coming in your house to take care of your pets while you're not there. And then even with them checking up on them, that's many, 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 many hours of them being alone. Like, girl, no. So I passed on that one. So that's what I mean by between either they pass on me, I pass on them, the application just doesn't go through, whatever. Like, it's not that I don't want to work. It's that work itself has become almost impossible. Like, and then when she hit me with that 7 a.m., I'm like, girl. Oh my God. Oh my God. And it was in person in office. The only reason I was talking to her is because it would have been a very, very high paying job. But at what cost, though? At what cost? So I would have been getting paid a lot of money, but I would have to be gone from my house 3 weeks out of a month, which is going to turn into a month. Then when I get back from that that 3 week stint, my start time is 7 a.m. Girl, are you crazy? I almost said, do y'all have a virtual component? Like, can we do this virtually? But unfortunately, the type of work it actually can't be done virtual. You have to be in person to do it because you actually have to show somebody something. You have to show them how to work this machine. Anyway, honey, I passed on that one because no, ma'am. Okay. So I'm slightly flat with work. It's not that I won't work a full-time job. I'd be more than happy to, but are you more than happy to not be a psychotic, controlling narcissist? I don't think you are. I don't think you're willing to put in your part of the bargain. Your side of the deal you don't want to uphold. I'll uphold mine. I've always worked, y'all. I've been working since I was 16. I have no problem working. I have a problem being disrespected and mistreated on the job. That's what I have a problem with. But anyway, I'm slightly flat on work. I have a somewhat minimum standard of living. So I really don't live excessively. Like if I had a lot of extra money, honestly, the majority of that money would go into like furniture, but not even fancy furniture. We're talking like IKEA. I really want a sectional couch, like a really, really big sectional couch with really, really deep cushions. I want that. Um, Things like that. Bookshelves, more bookshelves. more bookshelves, things like that's where my excess would go probably. Um, but I'm not living an excessive lifestyle. It's really not on purpose. And then as far as like going out into the city and things of that nature, I don't really do that either. So technically, by all of these by all of these measurements, I'm lying flat. I'm not completely flat, I'm like semi-flat. And that makes me laugh so hard, honey. That tickles me. That tickles me to no end. Like PTE, you are lying flat, girl. No wonder these people are so angry with you. You won't participate in their system in any way other than the ways that I absolutely have to: rent, electricity, food, water, um, supplies that I need for myself, body washes, lotions, things of that nature. Um, cell phone. I participate in the cell phone and internet. See, I participate. I participate, but not like how they want you to. Understand that they want you to get married because number one, boom, the wedding itself is going to cost tons of money. So you're participating in the wedding industry. Then naturally, a newly married couple needs a house. So hopefully, your next step as a married couple would be to buy a house together. Put that money together and buy yourself a home. So you're participating in the real estate industry in that way. Then, as all lovebirds do, typically they are going to have some little ones, and that's really what they want, y'all. It's those kids. They need the kids because the kids truly drive the system. The kids truly are the ones who keep this whole thing going between everything you need for pregnancy, the birth itself, infancy, babyhood, toddlerhood, the clothes, the diapers, the formula, the food, the toys, the parties. But the biggest one out of all of that is school. So eventually you're going to have to put them in somebody's school. Yes, chat says the kids lock you in. Absolutely. That's absolutely what happens. The kids lock you into the system because then you kind of have to do it because you don't want your kid to suffer just because you don't feel like participating. You know what I mean? Like I struggle with that a lot. I'm like, if I had kids, would I want them to be participating in the commercialism of Christmas? Like, do I want to prime their brain to be expecting all these gifts every Christmas and then depressed if they don't get as many as they used to get, comparing themselves to their friends? You know, do I really want to do that to my kid? Like, do I want my kid to be a commercial consumer like that? I really don't. But then I think, wow, so you're going to steal the magic of Christmas from your kid? Really? You're going to steal the magic of Christmas from your kid? No, you're not. You're not, PTE. You're not going to steal the magic of Christmas for your kid. You're going to put the tree up. You're going to decorate it. You're going to buy the gifts and hide them and wrap them. And you're going to make cookies the night before with your kid and lay them out before they go to bed. And then you and your husband are going to eat the cookies to make it look like Santa came. You're not going to deny your kids the magic of Christmas. You know you're not. You don't have it in you, girl. So I'm locked in, you see? The chat says you're lying flat, but lifting your head up on occasion. Okay, that is just too perfect. Lying flat, but lifting my head up on occasion and just looking around a little bit and then just putting my head right back down. Oh my God, how funny. How funny. So, with the full knowledge that I'm not going to deny my kid the magic of Christmas, I'm locked in for at least 18 years, at least. Oh, and how could I forget birthdays? You got to buy them stuff on their birthday, right? So it's the children truly that they want you to produce. But like they do everything else, they want you to take on, well, you should, you're their parents. But my point is, they want your kids, but they want you to raise them, basically, is my point. Which again sounds like a duh statement, but I'm looking at it almost the same way I look at the restaurant industry, where they want the employees, but they don't want to pay them, basically. They want you to pay them. They want you to pay them with tips. So, same thing, same principle. Like, we need that little person, but we don't feel like making it ourselves and we don't want to like pay for it. So, you guys go have a baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Go have a baby, get married, buy a house, and in 18 years, send him to me. I'm not feeding it. I'm not going to take care of it. I'm not clothing him. In 18 years, send him to me and he's mine. Thank you. Thanks for all your hard work. That's really how they look at it. Like, they need your kids, basically. So even the couples in the lower right-hand corner who are flat in marriage, they don't like them either, because keep in mind, flat in marriage means they're choosing not to have kids or buy a house. So they're just existing. And the way that the powers that be look at that is they're not a producing unit, basically. They would be considered a non-producing unit, kind of like a tree that bears no fruit, basically. So they're mad because in many ways, even when you're minimalist, you're still a consumer. And they're consumers who they feel like aren't contributing back to society in the form of buying houses, cars, children, trips, family vacations, Disney, you name it. You're not participating. And if you think about it, when you look around society, doesn't it look like a society that was pretty much designed for that purpose? Like, there's very little for people to just be like people by themselves, like people on their own. Very, very little. I can't think of much off the top of my head. So that's going to lead me to our final thoughts for this particular show. So good to have you all with me. I appreciate you guys. Here's my final thoughts on this particular topic. First of all, it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious that y'all went so hard and you became so excessive that people just simply just stopped. That's it. They didn't rage, they didn't rebel, they didn't do anything like that. They just simply stopped. And what are you going to do? Are you going to arrest them? Are you going to try to mandate some of this stuff? Are you going to try to make it law? Is that your next move? And that kind of leads me to my next thought, which is based on the behavior of elected officials and governments over the past year, how do you think they will respond to people lying flat or deciding not to participate except for the bare minimum? And I want you to consider that question in the context of the show we just did on this channel, where we were talking about Mayor Eric Adams and now the governor and now President Biden saying that y'all need to come back to work. We need you back downtown. We need you in the office because the small businesses are dying, basically. You are killing the small businesses by not coming to work. So we need you to come back to work. So if that's their attitude regarding businesses and work, what do you think they're going to do? Or how do you think they're going to react when they discover there's a whole movement encouraging people to just lie flat and enjoy life while they're young, basically? While you're young, just lie flat. I don't think they're going to respond very well to that. I mean, you already have Elon Musk coming out saying that one of his greatest fears is that there's not going to be enough people, that there aren't going to be enough people in the future. They're concerned. It's so weird because one half of society thinks that we're currently being depopulated, and then another half of society thinks that we actually don't have enough people. So I actually don't know who's right, or maybe both are true. I don't know. But the powers that be seem very concerned with the current population levels. They seem concerned that there aren't enough people on the planet, and certainly not enough viable people to keep society going. And my response to that is, well, you should have thought about that, honey. You should have done very, very simple math and assessed and realized that the way you all are approaching things is going to make people just drop out, basically. Like if I don't have kids, that's essentially me dropping out, kind of sort of in a way. Like I didn't pass the torch. I didn't keep it going. Like, you know what I mean? And I in good conscience couldn't unless I married very, very rich or married a man who makes a considerable amount of money for me to feel comfortable enough to bring a child into the world. I've always wanted to be able to take care of the child by myself if I had to. That's not the goal. I don't seek to take care of a child by myself, but my thought process has always been so many women didn't seek to take care of children by themselves and they ended up taking care of kids by themselves. So, because the possibility that you might end up taking care of kids by yourself is a real possibility, I didn't want to run that chance. So I made sure I did my best to avoid the circumstance. And so far, I've been successful. But they should have thought about that when you were raising prices, when you were raising interest rates. Interest really shouldn't exist. Interest is criminal. And interest is part of the reason we're in the situation we're in right now economically, because it mathematically doesn't make sense. You can't pay back what isn't there. So basically, you can't pay back more than what's there. So you borrow $100 from me, and I charge 10% interest, which I believe makes that $110. Well, you didn't have the 100 to begin with, so you certainly don't have 110. So either you're going to have to steal that extra $10 to give to me, or someone else is going to have to lose $10. So in order for you to give it to me. So it's basically constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul all the time. And it's just everyone is chasing their tail because of interest, because interest is like money created out of nowhere, basically. So if I didn't have the 100 to begin with and you loan it to me, now I have $100, but now I have to go find $10 to pay you back $110. Where am I going to get that extra $10 from? Either I got to get another job, I got to steal it, or someone else is going to have to be minus $10. Now, do you think the person who's minus $10 is happy about it? No, they're not happy about it. So what are they going to do? They're going to go charge interest on someone else to make up for the $10 that I took from them to give to you. And around and around and around and around we go. You should have thought about all of this when you were making your long-term plans. Now, people are so traumatized and scared, they don't want to start families and they don't want to have kids because they don't want their children going through anything even remotely close to what they went through. They don't want to birth their children into the struggle and hope that it works out in the future, hope that there will be jobs there, hope that they'll be able to afford rent. Like, can you imagine being like a 21-year-old fresh out of college who wants their own place in a place like New York or California right now? Like, I would be having a panic attack. My first apartment, I think, was $725 a month, and I thought that was high. And little did I know, man, little did I know, little did I know what a good time frame that was. And that was back in 2006. 2006, my first apartment was $725 a month. One bedroom, one bathroom, loved it. It was my first place. It was all mine, and I was so proud of it. 725. And now I don't even want to talk about it. Let's not talk about my rental rates right now. Let's not talk. But I'm fortunate compared to some of you guys because some of y'all are already over the 2000s for one bedrooms where you are. So anyway, that was my final thought. Based on the behavior of elected officials over the past year, how do you think they're ultimately going to respond to people deciding to lie flat? I don't think they're going to respond positively. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of ridiculous force involved in either trying to force people into the situation or fining them or taxing them for not participating in the ways in which they want you to participate, basically. So you don't have kids? Fine. Well, we'll tax you to help pay for all the kids and to help pay for all the labor we're going to need in the future for the kids you didn't have. Or, I don't think they'll ever punish us for not buying a house, but I could see them trying to bully their way into convincing you to participate, basically, because that's all they know how to do, bully. So since you won't do it willingly, they'll try to find a way to bully you into it. One way I think is kind of like a reverse bullying is in the way in which they support families and children, but do not support single people or do not support people without kids. Because I think they forget that there's a lot of people who don't have children, who either don't have them yet, can't have them, or don't plan on having them. One of the three. Either they don't have them yet, they've tried and they just can't have kids, or they don't want to. At any rate, there's people without them. They need help too. There's a fourth category: people who unfortunately lost their children for one reason or another. So why are all these people unworthy of support and assistance? Like literally every time I open my news app, it's like $1,480 is going out on Friday. Are you going to get your hands on some? And I'm like, I hope so. I click it. It's another tax credit for children, child tax credit. So the parents right now are getting paid. They're getting bankrolled right now from all the stuff that's been going on the past year. They're getting bankrolled. They're getting new stimulus checks every couple of weeks, it seems like. But they are not concerned about people who don't have kids. And I don't understand why we are less or considered lesser citizens than someone who does. I might have kids in the future. I might have kids next year, but I don't have them now. So I'm not worthy of help now because I don't have kids now. I think the takeaway is that all human beings are worthy of help, and it should be made available to everyone because we're all valuable and we're all citizens. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's essentially the show, you guys. I wanted to share this concept with you, this phenomenon. I'm hoping there's lots of you who never heard of it before, and I hope you'll look a little bit further into it. This is just all of my thoughts regarding it, condensed and distilled into one show. But there's lots of information out there regarding lying flat, some really good documentaries, really good videos on YouTube regarding lying flat. So look into it if it interests you. And then I'm also curious, for those of you in the chat, some of you have already answered, but anyone listening to the playback, please put down in the comment section below where you fall on this map. I should have put standing straight up or standing up somewhere on here, which would be the people who are participating. But if you just found out tonight that you're lying flat, I'm curious, in what format? Are you completely flat? Are you semi-flat, slightly flat, or are you flat in marriage? I am curious and I would love to know. And with that, I appreciate you all. I'm not going to do the comments tonight. Well, maybe I should. Let's see. No, I won't do them tonight. I won't do the comments tonight, but I am going to rewatch them when the show processes and uploads. And do know that can take up to 24 hours. So if you come back and you're looking for the live chat, you won't see it probably for like a day because for some reason it takes that long on this channel. Also, if you want to come back to this video and you're listening to it right now, I highly suggest you grab the URL from this video and save it somehow, because for whatever reason, these videos sometimes disappear until they're done processing. So you might go to come look for this video later and can't find it. It's because it's processing and YouTube has it hidden until it processes. So, but if you have the link, you can come back to the video with no problems, okay? The chat says semi-flat, almost completely flat. Chat says I'm lying on my side, propped up by pillows. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And with that, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the show, and we will talk again very, very soon, okay? Bye.